Hi, this is Emily, and this is the M Dash. If this is your first time here, I am so grateful that you found your way. And if you've been on this journey with me from the beginning, I'm so grateful that you came back. You know, I thought I knew what I wanted to talk about this week. I even told a few people what it was going to cover. Energy. You know the saying, where your attention goes, energy flows. And it kept coming up in multiple conversations with people and just scenarios. And I was like, okay. It came up in conversations, came up in things I was reading, came up in my own life, and I kept thinking, that's exactly what I want to cover today. Where are you putting your energy? But the more I sat with it, the more I realized that's almost too easy, because we already know the slogans. Protect your peace, match their energy, stop watering dead plants, don't chase, let go. We've heard all of it. But I started wondering if there is a harder question, and that's what we're doing today. What's getting the best of you? And I mean that in both ways. What's receiving the best parts of you, and what is getting the better of you? Because those are two very different questions. And maybe the first place is to start with the one person we tend to forget in all these conversations about energy. You. Is the best of you even going to you? Are you nourishing yourself? Are you building something? Are you preparing yourself for the next version of your life? Or are you just surviving? Are you running on a wing and a prayer, chasing the next thrill, managing someone else's chaos? Trying to get an outcome to change that has already repeatedly shown you exactly what it is. I think sometimes when we talk about energy, it's like an abstract thing, but it's not. Your energy is your life. It's your attention, your time, your thoughts, your emotional bandwidth. So if you really want to know where your energy is going, don't make it complicated. Write down yesterday, an ordinary day. Where did you actually go? What thoughts came to your mind? What did you spend time doing? Kids, partner, your phone, social media, exercise, friends, food, worry, rumination, cleaning, creating, scrolling, planning, complaining, driving. The list goes on and on. What did you actually do? And what came to your mind? Were you avoiding something? Don't write down where you think it goes. Write down where it actually went. And then ask yourself, what did those things give back? And I don't mean transactionally. Your child doesn't owe you something because you spent energy parenting them, or feeding them dinner, or taking them school shopping, or going to the park with them. Your friend doesn't owe you a text back because you texted last. This isn't accounting. Actually, I think that's important enough to say again. Reciprocity isn't accounting. It isn't, I called you Tuesday, so you need to call me Thursday. Or I planned dinner last time, so now it's your turn. I did this for you, so you owe me that. That's just keeping score. Real relationships don't work that way. Sometimes somebody you love gets 90% of you because they've only got 10% available. And someday you're going to be the person with that 10%. And we're not looking for percentages. We're looking for patterns. We're asking, did this matter? Did it nourish me? Did it move something forward? Did I choose it? Did I create connection? Did it serve someone I love? Or is it leaving me depleted? And maybe most importantly, did it deserve the amount of me I gave it? Because here's where I think we have to be careful. protecting your energy doesn't mean becoming stingy with it. I don't want to become someone who never initiates because they should reach out to me. And I never would, because it's just not in my nature. But I don't want to become that person. And I don't want to stop risking rejection. I don't want to stop loving people deeply. I don't want to stop showing up for people. I don't want to stop giving somebody another chance when I genuinely believe they deserve one, because I'm afraid they might not return what I give. Because that's not protecting energy. That's protecting myself from vulnerability. And I don't think that's what we're striving for. We are supposed to care. We are supposed to love people. We are supposed to reach out. We're supposed to sometimes be the person who always initiates the text, who makes the reservation, who checks on the friend, who gives a little more because somebody we love doesn't have that much to give right now. So maybe the measurement isn't whether somebody responds to your energy exactly the way you'd hope for, or hoping they would. But I will say this, don't do it in the sense it takes your energy. If you're the one always making the plans and they're never reaching out, or you're doing something that you feel, why am I doing this on a constant basis? I don't actually enjoy it. It's not serving me. Whatever it is, person, place, thing, anything, examine it. Look back on it. I'm not saying it's okay to be the person that always reaches out. Absolutely not saying that, because I don't actually believe that. What I'm saying for myself is I'm not going to stop being who I am because someone isn't exactly the way I deliver. And that's when you evaluate where you're giving your energy and what's worth your time. Because that's what I've done this whole year. But when I really started thinking about this didn't come because of a person. This was coming because of goals I've set during this challenge I'm on. And if your first time listening, I'm doing 75 hard. And I mean, I am on my third book. You're supposed to read 10 pages of a book a day. Apparently, when I do things, I do things. So it's kind of like walking or exercising. It's like, okay, you're only supposed to do two workouts of 45 minutes. Guys, for August, I have already done, 80 something miles, and we're only in the mid of the month. So when I do things, I do things. And it's kind of like how I love. I love deeply. I care about people that matter to me. And those are things I'm not willing to change. It's just an observance of where I'm giving my energy and what wasn't giving it back to me. What wasn't making me feel good when I went somewhere or hung around somebody or whatever it might be. That's what I stopped doing. Because I don't want to hope for another outcome. I already know what it makes me feel, and it doesn't serve me. If those things don't serve me, I'm not going to continue to do them. And that's what we're talking about, is what deserves you. You do. You deserve you to be doing what you can do for you. Stop using other people's response to your energy as the measurement of whether your energy was well spent. If I reached out because I genuinely cared, that energy isn't wasted because somebody didn't respond the way I wanted. If I loved somebody well, that wasn't wasted because the relationship eventually changed. If I put myself out there and someone rejects me, whether it's an interview or whatever it might be, guys. I mean, everything doesn't pertain to just relationships. It's everything you do in life. You could have been introduced to a new friend circle or a networking group, a new coworker, or it could be your love life. Whatever it might be, there's going to be rejection. It's okay, because not everyone has to like you. And sometimes that takes a long time to master, right? Depending on your history or what you've been through in life, sometimes that hits people a little harder. But I will say, as I get older, it doesn't really matter to me to be proved to someone to make them like me. I know who I am. I know who I show up as. And it's for some people, it's not for everybody. And that's okay. I can honestly say that one of my best friends, like, I always am super positive. And I remember recently she wasn't going to show up because she didn't think she would be a good version of herself. Like, she didn't want to be grumpy or bring the situation down. And I kept trying with different ways to see her. But I honored the fact that she wasn't going to show up as the best version of herself socially, so she chose not to do that. And I laughed because sometimes I'm like, man, sometimes you probably want to punch, positivity in the face, because I'm always trying to find that bright way. But I also know for myself, if I don't think I'm going to show up as my best version, I don't want to go either. You're going to have off days where you're grumpy and you feel like not socializing. At least I have those. She had it, just what I think. I think it happens to us. I think some of us actually just try to push through, and then later you're like, why did I do that? Or sometimes you're pleasantly surprised. It just depends, right? But what I'm getting at is people's response to you or a situation belongs to them. What belongs to me? My energy. The audit is about what's deciding what happens next. Because there's a difference between giving freely and repeatedly pouring into something after it's giving you enough information. I just was at a dinner Saturday night with some friends that just moved back. And we were talking about a very personal situation. I might end up having them on a podcast. And I know we're waiting for me to have guests and show my face. So I promise you we're almost getting there. Just a few hiccups to get there. But as I'm having these conversations and they're being very vulnerable to talking about a situation, telling our other friends what happened, I gave this scenario, and I actually gave it to one of my friends the night before. As she was putting a lot of pressure on herself, I'm trying to fix this, this, and this. And we tend to do that. We tend to put pressure on ourselves that this has to be right, this has to be right, this has to be right, or everything's not in order. Well, sometimes it takes one thing getting together before the next. And I could go back into your to-do list and how you can find self-gratification in a to-do list. But we've talked about it, and I'm not going to dive into that today. What I will say is this. You can't pour from a torn cup. It's just going to spill everywhere. I ended up saying that to 2 different people, 2 nights back to back. Because how often are we standing over that torn cup thinking, maybe this next pour will finally fill it? One more text, one more explanation, one more chance, one more conversation, one more attempt to make somebody understand. One more night of worrying about an outcome we can't control. Eventually, the question isn't whether you're capable of giving more. It's really whether this deserves more of you. Life moves fast. I mean, we are sitting in August. And when I was putting this episode together, I was thinking that. I was talking about it in July. I was talking about it in June too. Like how quickly we got from January all the way to summer. Nothing dragged. Everything just moved, and moved. And what did you set out for yourself? Or what situation have you constantly found yourself trying to give more to? And maybe you've been trying to give more to yourself. So evaluate what you've actually been giving yourself to instead of yourself. It's part of the audit. How much energy does this actually deserve? 5 minutes, a conversation, maybe it's a journal entry. One walk around the block to let you think about it, sort it out in your head, and then let it go. Maybe. Or have you given a 5-minute disappointment 5 days of your life? Have you run through it scenario after scenario in your life with nothing changing, except your mind getting the best of you because you're playing it out a different way? Sometimes we just have to get it out. And you might not be a journal person, and I'm not here today to talk you into it. I can suggest it. I highly suggest it. It doesn't matter if you're a boy, girl, whatever you identify as. Try it. Because maybe it's something you don't want to share. Maybe it's private with you and you just need to get it out. Sometimes writing it out helps you see a perspective. Because your mind is going to start pouring out and you'll notice how much more is coming out once you start doing it. Or maybe you can talk to yourself out loud if that doesn't make you uncomfortable. It sure doesn't seem to make me uncomfortable. Ask my daughter. What have you given a temporary feeling, a permanent residence? Did someone hurt you this year and you've replayed that in your mind? Why they've moved on and you've still trying to figure out why, or why they don't see you that certain way, or why did they hurt you, or maybe they didn't know they did. And have you taken something that hurt and built an entire story about what it means to you? Have you gone through the emotions of it? You know, I talked about this before, but this came up again this weekend about grief. And I will stand by this, that I think people try to rush grief and rough situations that are super heavy and that probably aren't going to go away just overnight. And sometimes it's because, I just have to move on. Well, then you're just tucking that way down. It's kind of like that surprise sock you find in your bed when you're washing your sheets and you're like, what? Just tucked way down in there, you know. I imagine the fitted sheet got a hold of it in the dryer, but that's just the metaphor I'm giving. So assuming, I don't want to assume, but I'm going to say assuming you change your sheets at least once a week. My point to that is we have the power to move through things the way we want to move through them. And what that means to you is different than what it means to me. But all I can suggest is when a feeling comes up is to feel it. If you feel like crying, cry. If you feel like being upset, go punch a pillow, punch your bed. I've talked about this before. Get it out however you can. For me, it's 1,000% walking. It helps me work my thoughts out on the pavement. And I find sometimes my pace goes up and I end up doing way more miles because I had to sort through something through my head. Because how I felt when it initially happened will be completely different by mile 5. And by all means, I'm not telling you to walk 5 miles to heal. I'm just saying find what works for you. What's your worth? What's your future, your relationships, your life? That's when something starts getting the better of you. And that's the other meaning behind the question, what's getting the best of you? Because I want to give the best of me. And those are two different things. And something else happens when you stop pouring into everything. There's space. And sometimes that space is uncomfortable. Everyone tells you stop chasing, let go, stop forcing, protect your peace. And then what? You stop and there's nothing there. It's quiet. And that quiet can get really loud. But empty space isn't necessarily evidence that something is missing. It doesn't necessarily mean you're lonely or you made a wrong decision. And it doesn't mean you immediately need to fill it with something else. You don't need another app, another plan, another errand or project, or even a person. Sometimes empty space is simply empty space, and feelings move through it. I experienced recently that an ordinary Sunday, at one point in the afternoon, the quiet felt enormous to me. And literally an hour later, nothing significant about my life had changed, but it felt completely different. My life didn't transform in 60 minutes. That feeling moved through. Feelings can be weather without being evidence. And once I realized that, the audit flipped for me. Because protecting our energy isn't only about asking what needs less of me. There's another question. What deserves more? And that one got me. Because I have things I say that matter to me. Things I want to create and finish, and I want to experience. So I had to ask myself, how much energy have I spent thinking about things I cannot control, while things I desperately want to bring into the world are sitting there waiting for me? Not as punishment, not stop thinking about people and go be productive. I don't even know what word I was about to say. I was distracted by the way that my dog was moving around. You probably heard a little bit of movement there. But it wasn't the point. The point was the awareness it brought me. I have finite energy, and I am funding the life I say I want with it, because we don't have infinite emotional currency. So what are you overfunding? What's starving? What's been sitting there waiting for a deposit? Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's a business. Maybe it's a relationship or your family or your peace or your creativity. Maybe it's just you. And I think there's another version of expansion we don't talk about enough. Sometimes the people we love start expanding. Our children grow. Relationships change. Caregiving change. Careers change. People need us differently. And sometimes we interpret their expansion as our contraction, but it doesn't have to be. Someone else's world is getting bigger doesn't require yours to get smaller. As the people I love expand, I want to expand too. Not because they matter less, because there is still more of me available to discover. Maybe the question isn't, what am I going to do when they don't need me in the same way? Maybe it's, who am I becoming as the ways they need me change? That's not an ending, that's expansion. And all of this made me realize something else. August is funny, and we're sitting in the middle of it. And they're not. Guys, sometimes the words that come out when I'm in my whole speech to you cracks me up. But there aren't a lot of markers. It's just August. It's hot and long. And then you get to the other side of it and life starts moving really, really fast, because Labor Day comes along with football season. School gets fully underway, and if you have children, sports activities take over calendars. And then if you're in the South, you have a fall break. And then it's Halloween, and then it's Thanksgiving, and then it's Thanksgiving break, and then it's the holidays. And then you're standing at the end of December wondering, where did the year go? And that's usually when we do this audit. What worked? What didn't? What do I want to change? Who do I want to be next year? And then January 1 comes and we decide this is the year we're finally going to give our energy to things that matter. Guys, I absolutely said that. My word was forward. But what I noticed in my word and what I've been practicing is one day at a time. I am moving forward, but one day at a time. I'm not quickly trying to fill my calendar every time the weekend ends. It is one day at a time. And I am so grateful I have that concept, because where I'm at now is requiring a little more travel. And for me, I don't want to fill every space up, because what if I need to rest? What if it ended up feeling heavier or longer? Or what if I actually have an opening and I just want to see what I can do? I just want that to be an option. I'm truly trying to live in the now. Doesn't mean I don't want anything planned. I just found this is working for me, and it helps me be in the day I'm in. It doesn't mean you don't set appointments. It doesn't mean if a friend texts, you don't put it on the calendar. Not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm not living for the weekend every week. And if you are, evaluate if you're really doing what you want to be doing during the week. Because in a perfect world, what? You'd be a millionaire, you wouldn't be working, and all those things. Beautiful. But you are. And it should give you self-gratification to be putting in to something that really lights you up, not drags you down. And that's the same energy with friendships, relationships, activities you do. Everything, food. Food should nourish you, not make you feel awful after you eat it. It's just things that are coming really clear to me, and it's not so much to me about just protecting my peace. That honestly feels like a Band-Aid now. This feels like what is taking my energy from me? And am I giving it to myself? So I ask you guys, why are we waiting? Why not do the audit now? We still have 4 months left, and that's a lot of life. So don't make a resolution. Don't create some enormous plan to reinvent yourself. Just pay attention. Write down your day. Where's your energy actually going? Who gets it? What gets it? What are you overfunding? What have you been starving? What are you still chasing that gives you the same feeling every single time? What are you maintaining simply because you've always maintained it? And where are those things you keep saying that matter to you? Are they getting the best of you? Or are they surviving whatever remains after everything else is taken its turn? And don't use this audit to beat the shit out of yourself for what you haven't done. And I apologize for the bad word, Dad. It's just information. You can't redirect energy you haven't acknowledged you're spending. Maybe you discover you're exactly where you want to be. Beautiful. Maybe something needs less of you, and maybe something deserves more. Maybe something you've said you've wanted for months has been surviving on the scraps of your attention. But you don't need a new year to change that, or a January, or a Monday. And you don't need some dramatic ending before you're allowed to begin something different. It's August. There's still a lot year left. So before your calendar fills up, ask yourself, what's getting the best of me? And ask it both ways. What's receiving the best parts of me? And what keeps getting the better of me? Look at your answers with no judgment or shame, just information. Give freely where you choose. Pay attention to what comes back. And don't personalize what doesn't. When a pattern gives you information, adjust. And keep enough of the best of you to build the things only you can build. Not because people don't matter. People matter enormously to me. Connection matters to me. But so does creation. things I want to write, things I want to say, things I want to make, and things I want to experience. There's a version of myself I am still becoming. And saying all that gives me chills because that's what I recognized. The things I want to do are all a part of creation. And that deserves to get the best of me. I don't want to get to the end of the year and realize I gave the best of myself trying to control things that were never mine to control, while the things I could create survived on whatever I had left. So maybe that's the audit. Not who or what do I need to cut off? Who isn't matching my energy? What am I doing wrong? Just what deserves more of me and what deserves less? And am I brave enough to adjust accordingly? Because your energy is going somewhere either way. You might as well choose. And maybe that's the question I'm leaving myself with this week. What's getting the best of me? What's taking up space simply because I haven't stopped long enough to notice? Not every open space needs assignment. Not every thought needs your attention. Not everything that asks something of me deserves the best of me. And maybe that's something you can notice this week. What's getting the best of you? And is that where you want to go? This is Emily, and this is the M-Dash, and you are always welcome here.